This episode goes out to Nolan in Hood River. Hi there, Garrett Robinson here. Welcome to the 17th episode of the Nightblade Epic Podcast Season 2. We're officially in countdown mode. A Cloak of Red, the newest book of Underrealm, is just over 3 weeks away. 3 weeks! If you haven't heard me say it already, I can't stress it enough. This new book from Brenna Gawain is absolutely awesome. A Cloak of Red is full of underrealmy goodness. It's action-packed, heartfelt, and as Brenna likes to say, it even occasionally buckles some swashes. We've poured our hearts and souls into this one, and we know you're going to love it. So pre-order your copy of A Cloak of Red today at underrealm.net/TTK. If you're in the US and you want me to personally ship a print copy to you, you're almost out of time. Again, that's underrealm.net/TTK. Okay, now it's time for today's episode. Today, you're getting chapter 22 of Mystic. When we left off, Lauren and her friends had just been recaptured by Jordell and Vivian in the city of Wellmont. Enjoy! Mystic, Chapter 22. "Lauren of the family Nelda," said Jordell. "I am surprised to find you here, though not surprised to find you in the hands of the King's Law." Zane had frozen beside her. Lauren risked a glance at the wizard, hoping he had enough wisdom to remain silent and still. Though the fear was plain on his face, she saw no light in his eyes, and his hands did not move. Jordell came around the table with Vivian at his side. The other mystics turned to watch. The constables who had captured Lauren and Zane clearly did not know what to make of this, for they stood still in confusion. Gillum, too, looked puzzled, though still angry and suspicious. "What offense brings them to the King's Law?" said Jordell, addressing the constables. "Wait, I have a guess. Thievery." "That is right enough, my lord," said the constable. "Suspicion, anyway, though if you know them for the thieving kind, it makes our job easier." "I am afraid you will have to grant them a pardon and release them into my care," said Jordell, sighing as he looked at Lauren. "Though they may not wish to come, I think they will prefer it to a cell."
"Hold a moment," said Gillum. "These two have stolen a purse of my coin, and I will not leave here without my justice."
Jordell studied him. "I have no doubt they wronged you, though if I know this girl, it was not without some cause. Still, never let it be said the mystics did not uphold the King's Law. Vivian, see to it." Vivian's smile broadened. Lauren might have taken that for a good sign, an indication that the mystic woman bore them no ill will for the battle of magics upon the dragon's tail. But in Vivian's eyes was a hunger and a promise Lauren could not identify. From her cloak, Vivian withdrew a purse of coins. This she threw to Gillum, who caught it in a clumsy hand and opened it. The purse looked twice as fat as the one Jem had taken, and within it Lauren saw the gleam not of silver, but gold. Gillum stared, his jaw so slack it nearly struck his chest. "That is far more than his purse held," said Zane, fuming.
"I thought you said the woodsman was spinning tales,"
said the constable who held his arm. Zane's face flushed, and Lauren glared at him. "You call me a foolish girl," she said, "yet you speak with the grace and skill of a horse, one with no legs at that." "It is no great shame to be a poor liar," said Zane, but he would not meet her gaze. "Enough of this," said Jordell. "We require haste, more than you know. Constable, leave them in my care." "I am not partial to thieves," said the one who held Lauren's arm, and her grip tightened. "All folk have their uses if the cause is great enough," said Jordell with a look at Lauren. "I will invoke my rights under the King's Law if I must, but I would rather you gave them to me with trust than by duty." "Take them, then," said the constable, pushing Zane forwards. "But take care that their grasping fingers do not stray again, lest they lose them." "You have my word," said Jordell, and he bowed. "Thank you. Now, come." He waved them out. Lauren needed no second urging and made for the door, but Zane hesitated. She gave him a look and gripped his arm, her hand replacing the constable's. "Come, Zane," she said. "You cannot tell me you prefer even a constable's cell to Jordell's company." "Yet I do, and I would prefer many worse things," said Zane, "though mayhap we can still escape the cell and his company both." At last he followed Jordell and Vivian outside, where Gillum scuttled off into the streets after a final, wrathful look. But once they had left the constable's training yard, Zane stopped. "I will not withhold gratitude for your help, Mystic, but I wonder at its cost," he said. "You have pursued me since first I left the High King's seat, or so I have heard. Now you have found me, but I must disappoint you. I wish no business with you or your kind, now or ever, and I would take my leave." "Mayhap you would take it, but I do not yet grant it," said Jordell. "I know not what you have feared from me these past months, but I do not mean to bring the king's justice upon you." "If that were your aim, I would fear you less," said Zane. "Since you do not hunt me for the crimes I have been falsely accused of, I can only guess you have reasons much darker, things I know little of and have little wish to learn about." "Darker than you might imagine," said Jordell, "though not dishonorable for the most part. But come, let us speak of these things over wine, where I may explain my cause. I have earned that much at least." Still Zane was reluctant, and for a moment Lauren thought he would refuse, but with a wary look he nodded and let Jordell lead them on. They did not go far. Soon Jordell opened the door to a small tavern with a cold hearth. The place felt close and stuffy, and though it was mostly empty, their voices did not carry far. It was as though the air, which was even soggier than outside, formed a thick cloud that stilled the voice. It felt like a place for discussing dark deeds and terrible secrets, and Lauren immediately wished to leave. Jordell led them to a table in the corner and ordered a bottle of wine with 4 cups. While the innkeeper bustled to bring the drink, Lauren studied Vivian. The woman had remained silent ever since they left the constable's station, though her eyes rarely left Zane's face, and she held herself taut as a bowstring. She caught Lauren staring at her once or twice, but her predator's smile only widened. At last the wine appeared, and the innkeeper vanished. Lauren leaned forwards to speak before Jordell could begin again. "I do not relish the thought of speaking with this one present," said Lauren, pointing at Vivian. "She has pursued us since Redbrook and nearly killed us upon the river." "Yes, I have heard the tale," said Jordell. "But Vivian is a loyal member of my order and has been of great service. Though our paths have rarely crossed, I have heard only the highest praise." Vivian folded her arms on the table and spoke in a voice of silk. "You misunderstand me if you think I bore you animosity, or indeed if you thought I pursued either of you. It was only the Yaren girl I recognized, or thought I did. Her family and I have many dealings, and I thought it prudent to return their wayward child. Where is she, by the by?" "Never you mind," spat Zane. "If you bore us no ill will, you had a queer way of showing it. You almost sank our vessel upon the dragon's tail." "You did sink my vessel," said Vivian. "A curious thing, for I had thought you would be weak when I caught you. Yet you withstood me at my full strength. How was that done, may I ask?" "I was born with a powerful gift," muttered Zane, though it has seemed more and more like a curse of late. "It must be very powerful to have beaten me so thoroughly." Vivian tapped a fingernail against her teeth, studying him. Zane's nostrils flared, and Lauren thought of the Maidstones. The family Yaren had dealt in the things for many years. If Vivian had befriended that family, she might know of their smuggling. Did the mystics suspect Zane of using the stones? Would she even care? Lauren still knew far too little about the things to guess. "Enough of this," said Jordell. Vivian and Zane broke off from staring at each other and looked down at their cups. "You continue your swordplay of words, Zane, but I tell you again that I mean you no harm. Already I have commanded Vivian to withhold her hand from you, as well as any who travel with you. She will tell the family Yera nothing of the girl Annis, nothing more than she has already, I should say. Does that satisfy you?" He looked from Zane to Lauren. The wizard would not answer, but Lauren nodded. "It satisfies me, if she holds to her word." "I will obey, my captain," said Vivian, but Lauren thought she heard annoyance in the woman's words. "Then let us return to the matter at hand," said Lauren. "You have found me again, Jordell, and Zane into the bargain. I want to know what you mean to do with us. And how did you find us, in any case? The 9 lands are wide." Jordell shook his head slowly. "Still you ignore what I told you often in Cabris. In the fabric of this world, some strings are woven close and some far apart. Some are intertwined, bound together, and find it hard to break free." "You blame fate, then," said Lauren. "You will pardon me if I think there is more to it." "I am not blameless, it is true," said Jordell. "When you left me, I tried to follow your tracks, but once they met the river, I knew it for a fool's errand. You could have gone anywhere. I sent Seth to Redbrook to search there, and took a horse southwest here to Wellmont, though it seemed an unlikely destination after you and I had discovered the mercenaries. Still, I felt a pressing need to see the city. For one thing, I hoped to warn them before the sellswords came. My road took me along the north bank of the Dragon's Tail, and that is how I chanced upon Vivian's ship. I found her the day after her battle with Zane, and she told me what had happened. I recognized you from her description of the riverboat's passengers, and I knew I had taken the right course. Then I hastened my steps, trying to reach Wellmont before you could leave it for some other place. I've only arrived today, and no sooner had I instructed the constables to search for you than you walked in the front door." "A pretty tale if it is true," growled Zane. "What of the other mystics in the constable's station?" said Lauren. "Who were they, and how did they come to be here?" "The mystics have long had a presence in Wellmont," said Vivian, "though we have no stronghold as we do in many other cities. They were assigned to help us find you." "But while you may think my journey the more important part of the story, it is not," said Jordell. "An army marches towards Wellmont still, and I think it will grow larger the closer it gets, as Dorsey finds more sellswords to join the host. I have warned the city, but that is the most we can do. I fear Dorsey means to level Wellmont for good." Lauren looked at Zane, and he gave her a slow nod. "I told him as much, though he did not believe me," she said. "We mean to leave the city as soon as we can." "Yet you found the gates barred and had no way to attempt the journey," said Jordell, nodding. "I thought that might be the case. But with my badge, we may yet leave the city without incident." "I cannot imagine that is the end of your plan," said Zane. "I do not doubt you have further schemes for us, Mystic, and I would sooner march myself back to the constables and sleep in their cells until I rot." Before Jordell could answer, Vivian turned to him with disbelief. "You mean to flee? We should aid the city. With such a powerful wizard in its defense," and here she looked at Zane, "the Dorshans cannot hope to breach the walls." "I have no interest in the wars of the 9 lands, said Zane, "and less in fighting by the side of a woman who tried to kill me only a few days past." "I will not say I share Zane's sentiment," Jordell told her. "All conflicts bear some import in the work of our order, but we cannot lend our strength in this battle, for we would risk losing a far greater war. I am sorry, Vivian, for I know you once called this city your home. If you wish to stay and aid it, I will raise no hand to stop you." "What good would I do on my own?" said Vivian. Her frigid mask slipped away as an angry fire burned in her eyes. "We are meant to maintain order. The fall of Wellmont would throw the whole south of Selvin into chaos. How can you turn away?" His jaw clenched. "We forsake all ties when we don our cloaks. I have permitted you to remain if you wish. Do not ask for more, lest I revoke that privilege." Vivian turned from him, and her gaze drifted far away. Lauren saw the woman's mask slide gradually back into place, and soon it was as if there had never been any emotion there at all, only a smug indifference. "As for us, we will leave at our earliest convenience," said Jordell. "Do you still have the urchin and the Yeren girl with you?" "Yes," said Lauren. "They remain at the inn where we stayed the night." "Good," said Jordell. "They too should come. The Yeren girl may be of quite some use, and neither of them deserves to stay here while the city is at war." "No one is more eager than I to leave this place," said Zane, "but I will not go with you, mystic." "Zane, I implore you," said Jordell earnestly. "There are great forces at work in Selvin and across all the 9 kingdoms. One such as you may be our only hope of thwarting them. A darkness gathers." "What do I care for that?" said Zane. "Only one thing concerns me, a boy who waits for me upon the High King's seat." Lauren saw him pick at his elbow, and noticed he had almost worn through the fabric of his sleeve. "You mean your son?" said Jordell. "I know what happened to you on the seat. If that is your only worry, I can ensure he is returned to you." That stunned Zane to silence. Even Lauren was taken aback, for she had not known Jordell knew of the wizard's child. The mystic had never mentioned it before. But Zane recovered swiftly. "So you say, and yet if it means entering into dealings with you and your order, I will not risk it. It would only bring greater sorrow upon him in the end. I will retrieve him by my own devices, or not at all." Jordell's hands clenched, and Lauren saw a flash in his eyes that frightened her. "Wizards are supposed to be men of learning, but your blind prejudice may be the doom of us all. Will you give me no measure of faith?" "None willingly. You ask for trust, yet you tell me of whispered secrets and gathering darkness. You have given no faith yourself." Jordell studied him for a little while, and then spoke in a heavy tone. "Very well. You leave me little choice." Zane's hand leaped up, and with an arcane word his eyes began to glow. But in an instant, Jordell jumped across the table and seized his wrist, twisting it until Zane cried out. Vivian gestured, and Zane's arms slammed to his sides, his body cavorting like a marionette. "Stay your hand, wizard," cried Jordell. "I did not mean that I would bring you harm, and your suspicion suits you ill. Hear my words, nothing more." Zane glared at him with hatred plain in his eyes, but he could do nothing. At last he gave a curt nod, and Jordell released his wrist. The tavern's keeper and some of the other patrons had stopped to give them odd looks, but at a glance from Jordell they returned to their drinks. "You ask for faith," said Jordell. "I will give it to you. Let us speak privately. I will tell you all that I know, which is too much, as many in my order would be quick to remind me. And when I am done, you will wish I had held my tongue. But if that is the only way to earn your trust, let it be so. Will you agree?" Zane studied him silently for a long moment, and his fingers drummed on the table. Vivian's eyes sparkled with interest. "Why would you do this?" Zane said at last. "All of this, the pursuit and this council. And do not tell me again how important I am. I do not trust the flattery of mystics." "I never flatter," said Jordell. "And when I tell you that your gifts are needed, it is only because I have never believed anything more. Tell me now, will you hear me?" More drumming, and then Zane reached over to pick at his elbow. Lauren noticed again how gaunt his cheeks had become. Worse since they entered Wellmont, not better. "Very well, mystic," said Zane with a heavy sigh. "Let us speak and lay all our knowledge before each other. Then I may refuse you with a clear mind and both eyes open." Jordell shook his head slowly. "If you refuse me when I have told you all, then you are not the man I thought you were." This has been a production of Legacy Books, written and narrated by Garrett Robinson. The music in this podcast was created by Will Musser. Check out his incredible work at willmusser.com. That's WILLMUSSER.com. Today's letter is O. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.